Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing.
All good, thank you. Members, welcome back to the hybrid meeting of the full council. I'm going to have to say this all again. Can I ask everyone to please mute their microphones at all times unless invited to speak by myself? Members should be mindful that microphones, when switched on, are sensitive and may broadcast other conversations being held in the vicinity. I would also ask members, when it is their turn to speak into the microphone so that they can clearly be heard by those in the chamber and those listening from home. So we're now on to apologies. Can I check if there's any apologies from the floor, please? I'm going to bring in Councillor O'Hanlon.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Sorry, just if you indulge me, it's the paper that was circulated, the action sheet that was circulated on Friday from last month's council meeting, and I know we'd agreed to invite NIE to come along. Would it be possible to extend an invite to Fibrous? Because there are people in the community who spent nearly 5 weeks without broadband provision, and to be honest, their service has been dreadful. And I think it's important that they come before council and answer it. So it's just, I know it was mentioned in the action notes from last week, but if we could now extend that to Fibrous as well, please. Okay,
can we just park that for a wee second? Can I check if there's any apologies from the floor first? Doesn't seem to be. Okay, Alderman Baxter, I'm going to bring you in.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And just to second what Councillor O'Hanlon's brought, I think Fibrous, we're still having issues 6 or many weeks later, and I think with the amount of government funding they got to put that infrastructure in, I think they have treated customers abysmally, and I would like to see them here as well. So absolutely put that invitation out. Thank you. Happy to second.
Thank you, Alderman Baxter. Members, are we all agreed we invite them in? Okay, no objections to that. That brings us on then to 2.1, and we're into our council minutes. Can I get a proposer and seconder that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 27th of January be taken as read and approved? Proposed by Councillor Herr and seconded by Councillor Hawkian. Thank you. Okay, members, all agreed to move on that? Got everybody's attention? Thank you. Okay, we're on to 2.2. Can I get a proposer and seconder that the minutes of the special council meeting held on the 13th of February be taken as read and approved? Proposed by, don't be afraid, Councillor McClelland and seconded by Councillor Ratcliffe. Thank you. Members, we're all agreed on that one? Okay, we're now on to item 3, which is declarations of interest. Can we agree to take these as the meeting proceeds unless anyone has a burning desire to do so now? Okay, no lights on. So that brings us to 4.1 then. We have minutes of the Special Governance, Resources and Strategy Committee meeting. Councillor Hawley, are you happy to propose? Thank you. And then Councillor Ferguson, are you happy to second? Members, are we all agreed? Okay, no lights on. 4.2, minutes of the Environmental Services Committee meeting. Alderman Tinsley, are you happy to propose? You are, great. And then Councillor Evans was an apology for that meeting. Can I get a seconder for someone who was there on the night? I'm going to bring in Councillor Alexander.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Councillor Ferguson is down as attended this, and it was actually myself.
On the minutes.
On the minutes, as attendees.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Members, are we happy then to adopt those decisions? Oh, Councillor Armstrong has seconded. Okay, great. So 4.3 then, we are moving on to the minutes of the Planning Committee held on the 5th of February. Councillor Armstrong, are you happy to propose? Thank you. And then Councillor Lavery, are you happy to second? Thank you. I'm going to bring in our Chief Executive.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Members, just literally in advance of this meeting, we received some legal advice in connection with one of the items in this committee. Members, it's recommended that the particular matter, the dual language street naming, is brought to the Planning and Regulatory Services next week, and that the matter is deferred until that point in time, if members are happy enough with that decision.
Okay, members, all agreed. Don't see any lights on for that one. That brings us then to 4.4 for the minutes of the Community and Wellbeing Committee. Councillor Hawkian, are you happy to propose? And then Councillor Herr, are you happy to second? Are you happy to second? Okay. I'm going to bring in Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Just a matter of reason, in CW 22/2025, it was about the opening hours for our leisure centres, and I think it was Councillor O'Hanlon raised about the rationale for closing Orchard Leisure Centre on St Patrick's Day. I don't think it was answered. I'd just like some clarification on the reasoning behind it. Was it data-led, or is that, or what were the reasons behind that? If I can get an answer on that, please. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to bring Paul in on that one.
Through the chair, we hope to bring some further information on that back to committee in March. Our understanding it's a legacy arrangement, but we'll get further detail and bring that to March Community Wellbeing Committee.
You're happy with that, Councillor Armstrong? Okay, I'm going to bring in Alderman Tinsley next.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and it's in relation to CW 21/2025. And it's with regards to the concerns that I had raised with the officers on the evening with regards to the plumbing going on at SLLC. It was advised on the evening that officers would be working with estates and maintenance to pick up on the issues, and that they would be engaging with the original contractor, and that a wholesome response would be brought back to members. I'm just wondering, will that be brought back to this committee, or to the Wellbeing Committee at the next meeting?
Thank you, Alderman Tinsley. I'm going to bring Paul back in to answer that one.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Alderman Tinsley, for your request. Yeah, once again, we do anticipate to try and bring that back to March Committee, if possible. We'll be working closely with our Capital and Estates team just to gather all the information up, but yeah, we're trying to hit that deadline of March Committee, Community Wellbeing.
You're content with that, Alderman Tinsley? I would like to make sure it's definitely. Okay, great. Okay, next thing I'm going to bring in Councillor O'Hanlon, please.
Keep your wisecracks for home. Lord Mayor, just back in relation to that CW22, don't want to contradict the director, but he said that it was a legacy issue. It's not. The reason being, it was open last year, and the proposal is actually to close it this year. And for the record, I don't agree with it being closed.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Hanlon. Yeah, I suppose happy to stand corrected. I said it may have been a legacy issue. Not sure if it is. That's why we want time to maybe bring the further detail back to it. Listen, this is part of a wider review about getting alignment, consistency, probably through based on data and those sorts of things, and we hope to address a number of these, I suppose, arrangements going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. I'm going to bring in Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. It's an item CW 21/2025. It's probably on a positive note in regards to the gym opening times. It's welcome that Rathfriland Gym will be open to 4:45 now, as opposed to closing at 1 o'clock. So that's welcome development, for anybody using the Rathfriland Community Centre. So just a wee bit of positivity there. Thank you.
It's always welcome in this chamber. Councillor Hare, are you happy to second? You are, okay, that's great. Members, we're all agreed for that one? Great. So we're going to move on then to 4.5, and that's the minutes of the economic development. Alderman Greenfield, you happy to propose? Brilliant. And then Councillor Jude Mallon, you're happy to second? We've got Councillor Kyle Moutry going to come in.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Yes, if you'll just indulge me, it's really just in respect to item 3.1 of the Economic Development Committee relating to the Urban ABC platform for businesses. By all means, I'm delighted to see any progress in supporting a town centre first approach being implemented right across the borough. With respect to urban businesses, obviously it's been well documented the challenges high street businesses face at the minute, and especially with the UK government implementing the rise in national insurance contributions at such a difficult time for businesses. From a council perspective, one thing that has irritated me particularly is the situation with trees blocking the frontage of businesses in the town centre. I don't know if this is an issue in other towns, but certainly in Portadown, this has been a real consistent problem. It's apparent particularly at Castle Street and Church Street, where trees planted in 2010 by the Department for Communities have grown in size, and they're blocking new and well-established businesses from being seen. Just recently, I spoke to a landlord who owns a really prominent retail premises in the town centre, but the size and scale of the tree just a few feet away from his entrance has left this unit on the rental market for nearly 6 months. Whilst these trees were planted by DFC, they are now the responsibility of council, and if we want to adopt a town centre first approach in Portadown, this needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mutry. I'm going to bring in Paul then to address that.
Thank you, Councillor Mutry, and yeah, we certainly understand the challenges that businesses have, and certainly the ownership issue around trees is certainly a discussion, but if you, I suppose, indulge us to maybe take your comments away and have a look at that and come back to you and see how we can address those issues moving forward.
Okay, next I'm going to bring in Alderman Berry.
Thank you, Madam Lord Mayor, and if Councillor Mutry is proposing action on this, I'm happy to second it. Obviously on that night with the urban platform for businesses was a really positive report, and as I said at the meeting, we're obviously delighted to have such a very enthusiastic bunch of staff in this economic department that is really making a difference in our town centres, and most importantly in those rural DAs of the rural town centres. And of course we want to see as much possible being done, but Councillor Mutry is absolutely right in relation to the situation of the trees. There needs to be a joined up approach here, and I thank Paul for his comments, but it was before his time that we actually had one of those working groups about trees, and that has now got lost in the business somewhere. So I think we would really need to get that in move again, because he's quite right. There are businesses down many, in fact all our town centres, if the truth be told, where these large trees, when the leaves start appearing on them, are blocking the signs of the businesses, in fact taking up the size of some of the actual units, which is absolutely ridiculous. We've had a working group a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, but nothing has happened. So I think it would be good, based on the proposal from Councillor Mutry, that we get action on this and possibly get this reinstated as soon as possible. Sadly, the storm didn't take those trees out, so it has to be resolved some other way. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Berry. I'm going to bring in Councillor Flaherty, please.
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor. You somewhat beat me to it there, Alderman Berry, because I thought am I, going crazy here, because I remember sitting in that workshop, but I can't remember the date. So if I could be advised by one of the officers, because then I'll know which notebook to go back to. But I remember sitting in that workshop, and quite honestly, maybe you will agree, we were told how many trees was in each town. Quite frankly, they did a count. I could nearly tell you which ones, as clearly can you, Councillor Mutry, which are giving us an immense amount of problems in the town centre. And nobody will take responsibility for them. Nobody knows what to do with them. Business owners are afraid to touch them or hardly look at them in case somebody comes at them. I don't think anybody would really mind if they were failed by a storm, quite frankly, because then the next thing the drains are blocked. So can we pull that? Surely that detail is there somewhere. I don't want to be going to another workshop and starting from scratch again when we sat and did work through some part of a work stream. So can we please pull that back out again? And if we have to just pick it up, then those of us that are interested will. I don't care. Put a planter in its place. I really don't care what to put in its place.
Thank you, Councillor Flaherty. I'm going to bring in Councillor McElrath, please.
I can deal you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Listen, I agree with everything that's been said. The only thing, there's something rattling about in the back of my head about us discussing this issue around trees about 2 months ago. The simple reason being that I queried the amount of money that was being allocated towards it. So I'm not sure if one of the officers can maybe come back on that. I think it came through governance, perhaps, but I think there was some proactivity happening. Thanks, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor McElrath. I'm going to bring in Jonathan for this one.
Evening, members. Yeah, so look, there has been some work that has been done in relation to town centre trees. We do have an environmental services working group tomorrow evening, so I'm happy to provide a further detailed update whenever I get speaking to the officers tomorrow, with a view to taking maybe a further report back to the Environmental Services Committee, maybe in March or April time, just in relation to this matter. So there was a workshop, as members quite rightly say. There were some costings done, and there has been some work in terms of a direction of travel that I'll be able to bring to members of the working group tomorrow evening, and then further detail will be provided within the report to the Environmental Services Group in April time.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'm going to bring in Councillor Arms. Oh, well, he's changed his mind. Okay. No problem, members. Oh, we've got a proposer and seconder then for economic. Are we all agreed? No further lights on. Okay, so we're going to move on then to 4.6, and that is the minutes of the Governance and Resources and Strategy Committee. Councillor Haughey, are you happy to propose? Brilliant, thank you. And then Vice Chair, Councillor Ferguson, are you happy to second? Members, are we all agreed? I don't see any lights on. Okay. So that will bring us to item 5, and members, we have agreed that this matter will be brought back then to the relevant committee for that one. So that takes us then to item 6, and that's 6.1 to 6.4. Members, are we happy to note? I don't see any lights on. I'll take that as a yes. Then we're into item 7. Members, can I get a proposer and seconder to agree and sign and seal all the legal documents, please? Proposed by Councillor McElrath and seconded by Alderman Greenfield. Thank you. Okay, members, I need a proposer and seconder to go into committee for consideration of the confidential items of business. So proposed by Councillor Mallon and seconded by Councillor Ferguson. Thank you. Members and listeners to the audio feed, in accordance with Schedule 6 of the Local Government Act, we will now be moving into a confidential session of the Council. This means that we will be turning off the public audio feed of the meeting, and this will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask ICT officers to please turn off the audio feed and confirm with me when the confidential section of this meeting can proceed? That's great, thank you. Members, can I get a proposer and seconder to adopt the decisions taken in committee? Proposed by Councillor Lavery and seconded by Councillor Armstrong. Thank you. Okay, members, we have one item of AOB and it is Councillor Armstrong.
Yeah, thank you, Lord Mayor. I just want to speak this evening on the rise of the avian influenza strain H5N1 within Northern Ireland. Last week we seen 64,000 birds were culled at a commercial poultry farm near Dungannon, and then this morning we learned that 16,000 birds will be culled near Pomeroy. The spread of avian flu is something that we should be taking seriously as a council, and the poultry industry in Northern Ireland is a lucrative one. It generates over £600 million to the economy and employs a great number of people. As we see in ourselves in our borough, not only if this avian flu spreads, it will impact the economy within the borough and also those who work within the industries. And it does cover a wide range of industries. So, given the proximity of the outbreaks to our borough, it's something that we need to be aware of and make people aware of for both domestic and commercial birds as well as our wildlife. I've seen that Council Comms also put out a wee statement earlier on preemptively, but I was just going to propose that our Council Comms team alert and provide information to members of the public and also the relevant department within Council liaise and assist with DAERA as much as possible to ensure that this is stopped at source as soon as possible. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Armstrong. I'm going to bring in Councillor McClellan, please.
Yes, Lord Mayor, thank you for letting me in, and it's just to come in support of my colleague, Councillor Armstrong. It's quite a serious situation that he has alluded to in terms of the agri-food sector within Northern Ireland and indeed within our own borough. Whether it's broilers or whether it's eggs, the overall poultry sector is key, it's vital, and I suppose all of the help that we as council and indeed other statutory agencies can give to attempt to combat this current very serious outbreak is quite simply anything that we can do must be done. So it's just to support my colleague. Thanks, Chair. Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm going to bring in Elizabeth on this one, please.
Thank you very much, and thank you, members, for the opportunity really to give you an update on where we are as regard to civil contingencies and our background to this. So, Council became aware of the confirmed presence of the H5N1 strain at the 2 commercial sites in the Mid-Ulster area and a further single confirmed site in a captive bird premises near Macrofelt, where a 3-kilometre captive bird monitoring control zone is in place around this holding. To provide really some background to members, we were informed that there was the potential for an avian influenza in early December 2024, and that is through our civil contingencies arrangements. Since then, we have been proactively disseminating DAERA's advice both to staff and around the facilities in our council services. This really has highlighted the awareness of avian influenza and the procedures for dead birds. Over the past week, both DAERA and the Public Health Agency have been issuing public communications advising the public not to touch dead or sick birds and really around the good personal hygiene side of things. To give members that reassurance, Council do collaborate closely with DAERA through emergency planning structures and will continue to support DAERA's efforts. For note as well, there is an MOU with DAERA that was approved through our Environmental Services Committee, and that is really to assist down the line should there be a need with resourcing and indeed provision of equipment if requested. And staff and council received some training on this back in May 2024. So I hope this gives members some reassurance of what actually is in place, but also there are obviously the Pacific controls that we have out at Tannockmore Farm, and we have multiple measures put in place out there, in particular that the ducks and waterfowl are kept separate from domestic fowl. Thank you. Happy to take questions.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I'm going to bring Councillor Armstrong back in.
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you, Elizabeth, for that response. Might be worthwhile if over the next couple of months we can get regular updates within the Environmental Committee just to see how things are progressing. If that's possible, it'd be much appreciated. Thank you.
Members, I have a proposal by Councillor Armstrong, seconded by Councillor McClelland. Are we all agreed with that? Okay, I don't see any lights on. Members, that concludes the full council meeting. Thank you for your patience, particularly at the beginning. I hope everyone has a safe journey home. Thank you.